Okay, welcome back again, guys, to episode 5 here. Man, we are burning through these things. If you are enjoying this, please consider liking and subscribing. It's a big help to me, and I really appreciate it. All right, let's get this going. So episode 5, today we're talking about finding a job in Australia. Now, this is probably the second most stressful thing when it comes to people, maybe even the first, depending on who you are, after your visa. Rest assured, it is much easier than you think it is. So it comes down to make sure you check some boxes. Make sure you have a couple things taken care of, and it will not be hard for you. We're going to run through it all right now. So first and foremost, the most common sector is probably hospitality. Second would be construction and farm work and stuff like that, but we'll talk about that in another one. What I'm going to apply to you applies to all different sectors, and it's just good standing and good practice when applying for a job, especially here in Australia, because I know what they want to look for, and I generally know what works and what does not. Okay, so the first and foremost is your resume. Make sure your resume is dialed in, spell corrected, looks good, not 7 pages long, doesn't have 9 different colors, anything like that. If you are not from a non-English speaking country, or it's not your first language, or even if it's just a little bit iffy, get someone to proofread it for you. If you haven't written resumes before, get some templates online. You can even submit it to people to look over it for you, like as your mom or your dad or some friends from the hostel. Doesn't matter. Print off a bunch of them. Make sure you have it ready. Okay, the second thing is to look good. Make sure you look presentable. If you go any job, please do not go show up to hand out resumes in a tank top and board shorts. I know it's Australia, it's hot, but it's just not gonna fly. Okay, the amount of people I turn away is just casually, no resume, wearing either, I've seen people come in shirtless to the bar and ask if we're hiring. And it's just, and of course I didn't have the say to say no, but I sure would have if I was the manager. So make sure you look good, presentable, make sure you look like you want to work. That is the most important thing in Australia. They understand that you might not have experience or a huge amount of experience in that area. You understand you might not have experience working in Australia, but they want to see that you're hungry and that you want to work and that you're not going to be the person that kicks off work, doesn't show up, doesn't call in, and just you want to make sure you're the person that shows up and the person that looks like they want to be there. That's the key. Okay, number 3, be prepared. Whatever area it is, make sure you check if there's requirements, if there's liquor laws, if there's safety requirements, if there's anything you can have prepared beforehand. If you're going to be going for the hospitality area, you need to have something that's called an RSA, which is a responsible service of alcohol. Every single state in Australia has them. Many of them, like Queensland, WA, Northern Territory, they all have the same RSA, but Victoria and New South Wales do have different ones. You can do these either online or in person. I did mine online, though I'd probably recommend doing it in person. It's a little bit more expensive, but it's quicker, and they walk you through it, and it's a much more relaxed, whereas mine, I had to answer hours of questionnaires and film myself in different scenarios, how I'd react, how I'd respond, and all that. So it's a bit trying. If you're in the construction area, there's things like a white card, which you pretty much need to work any construction job, any manual handling kind of job like that. There's also like signage courses if you want to be a traffic controller, and traffic controlling courses and all that kind of stuff. But there's numerous things for the area. But for hospitality, all you really need is the RSA, and now maybe the COVID safe, right? Which is a very, very quick course. But make sure you have that done beforehand. If you want to be working in hospitality, get your RSA and get that before you start handing out jobs. That way the bottom of your resume says, have my RSA. That's really important to people. And construction, make sure you have that as well. They just won't even let you on site without it. So make sure you're prepared for the job. Make sure you're ready to answer questions. You've worked through some stuff in your head. You know why you want to work. The other stuff that they're going to ask in terms of preparedness is how long you're going to be there. They are looking for people that are going to be there for a long time. If you're going to be in a place for 3 weeks, maybe it's not the best time to be applying for a job. If you're only going to be there for 3 months, I'd maybe tell them that you're going to be there for 4 or 5. I would tell them a little bit more. They know, every employer in Australia knows that you can work for one employer for 6 months. So that's what they're looking for. Unless it's a very seasonal area such as Broome, where and you're showing up in June, they obviously know they don't want to keep you till December, right? Because it's just not going to be busy. So if they only have 4 months of busy season, then that's what they'll be looking for. But make sure you have that in mind. Make sure you're understanding they're going to ask you how many hours you want to work. The best answer, a lot. They're going to say, how long are you going to be here? The best time is a long time, right? They want to hear 6 months. They want to hear 5 months. They want to hear your extended period of time. They're going to ask you what your experience is, what your availability is. Make sure you have all that in your head already. Don't show up and be like, oh crap, I didn't know you're going to be asking me when I can work. That's common sense. Make sure you have that. And if you are going to be only available on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, make sure you tell them that. Okay, so number 4 is make sure you look into areas that you want to work. So one thing about Australia that is really cool is they have something called penalty rates in a lot of places, which is especially in bars and stuff like that, where on the weekends and after certain times you make more. So say in Australia you're making $23 or $26 an hour regular. On those Saturday, you'll probably make about 31. On Sunday, you'll probably make about 35, 36. That is the penalty rates. Those are awesome. Not all bars have that. So you can look into bars that have it. Googling it usually won't work. You might want to ask the people, ask a bartender or something like that. Friends of the hostel if they have jobs, everything like that. I ended up working in places that are both, and you do make way more in the holiday rates. A lot of people say you don't work as much, but in my case, I worked 45 hours at that place, and I worked 55 at another place where I didn't get hourly, at separate times, of course, and I made much more at the holiday rate place. So that's where you'd look into. A lot of places have that, and you can ask for that, and I don't think they'll mind. In my experience, they don't mind when you ask for that because it makes you more appealing, and it makes you look like you actually have an interest and you're getting towards something. The next one is make sure you talk to a manager. Try to talk to a manager. Of course, sometimes you can't, but chances are it either gets lost. You want to speak to the manager and make an impression. You want to make sure they see you, that you're there, you want to work, you're hungry. Look them in the eye. You have that presence of like, look, I'm really excited about this. That sticks with them even more than the resume. Even more than a lot of people when they see that, they see someone that's just really hungry to learn, ready to work. It will even make up for having no experience. So if you don't have experience in hospitality or construction or anything like that, don't let that stop you. Still get out there. Just be the guy that wants to work. Be the guy or that person that really wants to be there and work. So I've had lots of people come to the bars I worked at that had no experience bartending or waitering or bussing, and you still get jobs as a food runner or even a bartender because a lot of bars, if they don't have cocktails or anything like that, or if it's a slower bar, there's not a huge learning curve, and you pick it up pretty darn quick, especially if you have someone you're working with that knows their stuff. So make sure you talk to the manager because your impressions, the faces you'll make and the impressions you'll make on these people are much more important than what's on your resume. Okay, and I think the last important factor, guys, is volume. Hand out a bunch of resumes. Please don't be the person that's saying like, oh, I'm trying to find a job, and then I ask, how many resumes you hand out? And they're like, oh, like 6. Man, hand out 20, 30 resumes. Hand out a bunch. You might get a job at the first place. Print off a bunch. You might get a job at the very first place you apply. They might ask you right away if you want to start working. That's a big one. That is a big, big factor. So hand out a lot of resumes to a bunch of different places. Really diversify yourself and give yourself the best chance at finding a job. Another thing to keep in mind when you're in Australia is trials. Trials are a very big thing. Back home in Canada, I don't really have trials. I've never really had a trial for a job or a bar job. I just generally got hired and they see what you're like. Here in Australia, they have such a high demand and they have such a high pool of people they can get, and so many resumes coming in that generally they give you trials, which will be 2 hours of unpaid work. Now, if you do get hired, generally, legally, they have to pay you for your trial. Some places don't still, but legally they have to. But that's really neither here nor there. The thing is they will get you to work for 2 hours, see what you got, see how energized you are, see how quick you can pick things up, if your experience is real or bullshit, and they'll be able to tell right off the bat, so try not to lie about it. And if you don't end up getting the job, yeah, it costs you 2 hours, but it's still worth the option. And I've never had a trial in Australia that I didn't get the job. So as long as and I don't think that comes down to experience or my dedication or anything like that. I think it comes down to work ethic. Be there and be hungry. Make sure you are ready if you're going for hospitality, never stand still. If you're going for construction, don't be sitting down. Don't be taking breaks. Dive in. Be the first to be like, yeah, I'll do that, or ask questions. Why this, why that? That's what they want to see. They want to see that you're hungry for work. Again, that is the most important thing. Again, guys, resume dialed in. Make sure you look good. Be prepared. Ask for the manager. Always look at extra things you can look for. know your knowledge. Look up the venue, look up what they have, see their menu, maybe learn their menu beforehand, right? So you can say like, oh, I know you have this. Know that if you're going for bartending, know if they do cocktails or not. Make sure you're willing to do a trial and line yourself up and give yourself some time. Volume, hand out a load of resumes, a whole bunch, as many as you can, really. As many as places, all the places you want to work. I guarantee if you show up in a place like Fremantle, Perth, Sydney, anything like that, there's going to be hundreds and hundreds of bars, restaurants, construction companies you can work for. Make sure you hand out resumes. Make sure they see you and they see that you want the job. And finally is, again, keep your attitude up. If you hand out 10 resumes and don't get a job, don't get your head down. Don't say I can't get a job. Keep going. You will find it. All right. That's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Sorry I rambled a bit there. I really tried not to. But in the next episode, the final episode, we're going to be talking about farm work and possible extensions for extending your stay in Australia after your first year. It's going to be a good one, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll talk to you later. Peace.